Welcome to Timeless Battles, where epic showdowns transcend time and space. In tonight's battle, Gotham's Christmas cheer is threatened by a force more dangerous than any villain, Supergirl herself, taken over by an unknown darkness. Can Batman stop the chaos before the holiday is lost, or will Gotham's festive spirit be crushed under the weight of her unstoppable powers? Get ready for a battle of strength, willpower, and hope. This is Supergirl's Dark Christmas, Batman's last hope. Let the battle begin.
The city of Gotham was transformed into a winter wonderland, albeit a shadowed one, as snowflakes cascaded softly onto the dark streets. Festive decorations lined every street corner, adding splashes of red and green to the otherwise gray and foreboding cityscape. The annual Gotham Christmas Festival had drawn families, friends, and strangers alike to Gotham Square, filling it with warmth and cheer that was rare in the city. The centerpiece, a massive Christmas tree adorned with hundreds of lights and ornaments, gleamed brightly, its reflection shimmering in the faces of children and adults alike. Batman observed the festivities from a rooftop, as he often did on nights like this. The weight of his mission felt somewhat lighter on Christmas Eve, as if the holiday itself offered a rare reprieve. Though he was not one to indulge in celebration, he found solace in watching others enjoy the season. The carolers' voices reached him even at this height, harmonizing together in tunes that spoke of peace, love, and togetherness. For a moment, he allowed himself to take it in. But as with all moments of peace in Gotham, this one was destined to be short-lived. A piercing sound shattered the air. Batman's eyes snapped to the sky, where a fiery streak blazed toward the city's square, like a meteor crashing to Earth. The crowd looked up in awe, murmuring in excitement and fear as the light descended rapidly. It crashed just beyond the square, sending a shockwave that shook the ground. People screamed and scrambled back, their faces lit by the dull red glow of the crash site. As the dust settled, Batman could make out a figure emerging from the haze, a young woman with golden hair, wearing a suit of red and blue, the iconic S crest emblazoned on her chest. Supergirl. But something was wrong. Her posture was rigid, her head bowed low. Even from this distance, Batman could sense a darkness hanging over her. He activated the magnification lenses in his cowl, zooming in to get a closer look at her face. Her eyes, usually so full of kindness, were now empty, glazed over, and tinged with an unnatural shade of red. He didn't have long to assess. She moved suddenly, her gaze lifting to the crowd. With a jerk of her arm, she shot forward, grabbing the Christmas tree at its base. She lifted it effortlessly and with one sharp movement, tore it from the ground, lights and decorations flying through the air. The crowd gasped in terror as she swung the massive tree, scattering ornaments and wreaths as if they were nothing more than confetti. "Enough of this farce," she yelled, her voice echoing in a tone that was not entirely her own. "You waste your lives on hollow symbols and empty traditions, celebrating peace while you wallow in your own weakness." Her voice was harsh, dripping with disdain. Batman's stomach tightened. He had seen mind control before, but this was different, more insidious. Supergirl's powers, if wielded recklessly, could devastate the entire city. He quickly tapped a command into his wrist communicator, activating a protocol to scan for any recent alien disturbances. His advanced tech would analyze her vital signs, tracking any signs of foreign influence. But he didn't have time to wait. Gotham Square was descending into chaos, and Supergirl had begun to march forward, her eyes locked on the heart of the terrified crowd. Without hesitation, Batman leaped from the rooftop, descending toward the scene. He activated his glider cape, swooping in to land between Supergirl and the civilians, who now looked to him with desperate hope. "Supergirl," he called out, his voice calm and commanding. "This isn't you. Whatever has a hold on you, you need to fight it." She stopped, narrowing her eyes at him. For a brief second, there was a flicker of recognition, a glimpse of the real Supergirl buried within. But it was fleeting, replaced quickly by that same unnatural rage. "Batman," she sneered, her voice filled with a loathing that was foreign to her. "You're just a man hiding in the shadows, clinging to your brittle morals. Do you really think you can stop me?" Batman's gaze hardened. "I don't need to stop you. I just need to remind you who you are." But Supergirl was beyond hearing. She lunged forward, moving with blinding speed. Batman had only seconds to react. He rolled to the side as she crashed into the ground where he'd been standing, leaving a small crater in her wake. He tossed a handful of smoke pellets around her, the thick plumes providing cover. "Oracle, initiate Project Blue Sun," he murmured, activating a contingency he had prepared long ago for just such an occasion. High above, a satellite adjusted its position, redirecting a concentrated beam of blue light toward Gotham Square. The light was filtered with artificial sunlight, designed specifically to weaken Kryptonian physiology. But the effect was minimal. Supergirl staggered slightly, her movements slowing, but she quickly regained her composure, shaking off the light's influence. "Pathetic," she growled, her voice echoing with a hollow resonance. She lifted a nearby park bench, hurling it toward Batman with frightening force. He barely managed to dodge, the bench shattering against a lamppost behind him. She was holding back none of her power, and he knew he couldn't keep dodging forever. As they clashed, Batman's mind raced. He needed a way to reach her, to break through whatever dark influence was controlling her. He noticed that, despite her strength, her attacks were wild, uncoordinated. She wasn't fighting with her usual precision. It was as if something within her was struggling, an inner conflict between the real Supergirl and this twisted version that had taken over. In that moment, he had an idea. Tapping into his wrist communicator, he activated the city's emergency broadcast system, sending a signal to all radios, TVs, and speakers in the area. "People of Gotham," his voice boomed across the square, carrying through every available speaker. "Supergirl needs your help. She's fighting a darkness she can't overcome alone. If you believe in her, if you believe in the spirit of Christmas, then stand together and show her she's not alone." For a moment, there was silence. Then, slowly, tentatively, voices began to rise from the crowd. A single voice at first, then another and another. They sang a Christmas carol, their voices unsteady but growing in strength. Soon, the entire square was filled with song, a chorus of voices ringing out in defiance of the darkness. As the carolers sang, Supergirl paused, her body trembling as if struggling to contain the warring forces within her. Her eyes flickered, the red glow fading slightly, replaced by a hint of the bright blue that Batman knew so well. He stepped forward, his voice low and steady. "Kara, remember who you are. This is your city too. These people believe in you." The voices grew louder, the carols spreading through the square, joined by more and more people. Families gathered close, children clutching their parents' hands as they lifted their voices to the sky. Supergirl clutched her head, dropping to her knees as the songs filled the air. The darkness that had taken hold of her began to falter, unraveling under the weight of the people's faith and hope. She let out a cry of pain, the sound echoing across the square as she fought against the influence that had held her captive. Slowly, the darkness lifted, her eyes returning to their natural blue. She looked up, her face filled with confusion and remorse as she took in the scene around her. The destruction she had caused, the terrified faces of the people she had unwittingly endangered. Batman offered her his hand and she took it, rising unsteadily to her feet. "I'm so sorry," she murmured, her voice choked with guilt. "You weren't yourself," he said, his tone gentler than usual. "The important thing is that you fought it. You didn't let it win." They turned to face the crowd, who had stopped singing but continued to watch in awe and relief. Slowly, hesitantly, a few people began to clap, and soon the square was filled with applause and cheers. Gotham, as always, had proven resilient, refusing to let fear consume them. As Supergirl smiled at the people, a tear traced down her cheek, her face lit by the soft glow of the lights around her. It was a Christmas unlike any other, a night that would be remembered for generations as the moment when Gotham's darkest hour was overcome by its people's brightest light. And thus, Christmas Eve in Gotham became more than a simple holiday. It became a testament to the resilience and unity of a city that never stopped fighting, a reminder to all that, even in the darkest times, hope could still prevail.